Welcome to your first tutorial on the Gourd Buddy. The Gourd Buddy was conceived by an artist who had suffered many of the same problems that you may be finding with yours. Frustration, dropping of the gourd, and which might result in shattering, etc. The design of the Gourd Buddy is made so that it is adjustable to meet most of your needs. It can reach up to gourds of 15 inches tall and about 12 inches wide. When loading your Gourd Buddy for the first time, it might seem a little bit hard, but actually it's quite easy. First off, you find the bottom of the gourd and you place it onto the suction cup. You then take and undo the course adjustment and slide this down until the point comes to rest in where the stem was. You tighten this back up, and now you can deal with the fine adjustment. The fine adjustment is to determine how much tension you want in controlling your gourd so that it does not fall, move, or change in any way from the way you want to deal with it. Normally, you can just spin this down to some point where you find you have adequate tension on your gourd, and then we want to make sure that you take and move the lock nut down on top of the castellated nut so that you get the opportunity that when you turn the gourd in the opposite direction, you do not unscrew the fine adjustment. Once it's loaded, you have full access to your gourd. You can turn it over to be able to paint the bottom. You can turn it to paint to the top. And then there's a thumb wheel down here at the bottom which allows you to rotate it around. Now the Gourd Buddy, as I said, was fully adjustable and will handle gourds as small as this. So let's show you how that might be done. So first thing I'm going to do is back off the fine adjustment, undo the coarse adjustment, and you'll notice that you can just raise it up and let it kind of fall out of its track and not worry about it coming down. So if you were going to use a small gourd like this, you might think that, wait a minute, this is not going to work for me. In actuality, it will. It's very simple. First thing you want to do is you want to raise up your upper arm, and you'll notice that we have a screw here on the point. You take a standard Phillips head screw, you undo this until it falls off. Don't back the screw all the way off unless you want to call me up and buy a new screw. You let that come down. This axle is done only finger tight, so you undo the axle, which allows you to turn this all the way out. Once it's completely out, you're just going to insert it in the other direction and put it back in place. Once you've got it coming up, you then reinstall the axle. Again, finger tight. Now, if finger tight to you, you think you're not meeting, do not use tools on this surface. Do not use pliers, do not use any kind of channel locks or anything, because this is a very finely machined surface. If you need to use a tool, please wrap it in either paper or some other medium that you're gripping with so that you don't mar this. Then you reinstall the point. And again, everything goes in finger tight. Do not sit there and try and make it very difficult. Next thing you do is you're going to basically undo that bolt, turn it over, and you'll notice that the nut is captivated inside. It's not going to slide down on you. So you just reinsert, align the two holes, put your bolt back in place, and now, literally, if you wanted to hold a pea, you could drag that down and do a pea. You want to paint a pea, we'll hold a pea for you. But moving this back to where you want it, you then bring it back down on top of your gourd, and you give it a little squeeze again with the coarse adjustment, like so. Then you do a little more of your fine adjustment, and again, come and back that down so it locks in place. Again, you have the ability to turn your gourd, as well as look at the bottom, the top, everything. When your Gourd Buddy comes, it's basically fully assembled, except for, you'll notice you'll get 3 screws, an additional suction cup, a rather large piece of rubber, and then an Allen key. We'll get to the Allen key in another video. But let's talk about why you might use these two products. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to reinstall, change things around. Lift that up, give it a little tighten. Drop that off, finger tight, back this off. Turn things around. Once you have it up, take your axle, reinstall the axle. Again, finger tight. Finger tight needs to be a little tight. You just don't want it to unthread. Put your point back in position. Tighten this back up to finger tight. Make sure it spins. And now you're going to undo the course adjustment, take that bolt completely out. We're going to turn it over again and align them. Okay, in this case you may have noticed I've actually moved this too high. And so I'm going to take the point of my screwdriver and I'm just going to drag this down slightly. You'll notice it can fall out. That's not a problem. You're just going to use your finger and your screwdriver to capture that hole, push it back inside, and you're going to drag it back up. That's not good. Okay. Once you get it back into a position that you can use it, you're now going to align the holes again and reinstall the bolt. Okay, so let's talk about what is this large piece of rubber for. It's not a dog chew toy, although if you did want to, you could let your dog chew on it. But the bottom line is when you really want to use it, then you're going to call me up and ask for another one, and I'll be happy to sell it to you. But keep it away from the dogs. What it's for is not all gourds have a top on them. Some gourds you want to turn into vases. So, in this case, what you do is you place the gourd on the bottom suction cup, and now you put this on top over the hole you created in your thing. You'll notice there's a hole. That hole is for the point. When you have it in an appropriate location, you then lower this into place, putting the point into the hole that's in the center of that, and again, give it a little squeeze down. Now, I don't know if you're noticing this, but I always keep my fingers on either side of the upper arm and the load beam so that they stay in line. Once I'm happy with its position, I tighten up the coarse adjustment, and now again I can go and deal with the fine adjustment if I want more or less tension on it. Once that's in place, you can turn your gourd, you can rotate it all the way around, you have full access to your gourd. So let's just say that for your artwork, you start out, you do your first design on it, then you come and you carve on it or burn it, and then you do some carving, and finally you're done and it's a completed gourd, except for two positions. One is you didn't get to where the suction cup touches, and then also you've decided that you want to do some sort of a treatment around the opening of the gourd. Well, that's where your next accessory comes into play. What we're going to do is we're going to back this off just a little bit so that we can take the gourd out. You undo your coarse adjustment, and again, notice you just lift it up. It will stay where it will. Now, the Gourd Buddy doesn't care how it holds the gourd. You can hold it side to side. Again, that's what your second accessory is about. You're going to take this suction cup and you're going to put it on the side of the gourd. You're then going to lower this into place, and there is a hole in the back of that suction cup, and you're going to give it a little bit of a squeeze. What you're trying to do is make sure that the suction cup compresses. Now, if you didn't get it quite compressed, again, you can go back to the fine adjustment and give it a little bit more. Again, bring down the lock nut, and again, here you get the opportunity to turn and see all portions of your gourd. If you notice that your gourd is not quite vertical in your gourd and it's or in the buddy, then what you can do is back it off a bit, give it a little less tension, and you can physically move it on the bottom suction cup. Once you're again happy with the position, lock it into place, and again you have access to it. You can paint the bottom, you can put lace work, bead work, whatever you would like around the opening. Thank you for watching Gourd Buddy 1.